Hey guys, welcome to another Intuitive Tennis Live. I do this after every Grand Slam tournament, and I thought, why not do it after the ATP Finals? That match yesterday was so exciting. There was such energy in the crowd, and it's for both the Sinner fans and for the Alcaraz fans such a nerve-wracking experience, isn't it? Unless you're one of these people that just enjoys the incredible tennis and doesn't really care who wins, but I find that you know, there's nerves involved. I didn't think that was going to be possible because I was feeling these same type of emotions when the big three were playing against each other, and now we have this again. So it's super exciting, guys. Super exciting. Um, okay, 46:54. We got a lot of people in here. Let me just explain what I usually do or what I recently started doing in my lives, and that's this board right here. I hope you can see it. I would usually put it here, but it fell down while I was setting it up, and it scared all the cats. So we got some topics here that I'm going to go through. Not as many as I usually have in the Grand Slams, a little bit less, but I'm going to talk about each one of these, and then in between, I'm going to answer some questions from the chat. So let's start here with Carlitos. Carlitos, I want to say that what he has been able to do indoors at the ATP Finals is incredibly impressive because the way he played in Paris, we didn't know what to expect from Carlitos, but he's improved so much. And as I have been speculating on my channel throughout the ATP Finals, he's highly capable of beating Sinner now on any surface. I think independent of surface now, it's a 50-50 match, and he gave himself a lot of chances to win this final. Yannick Sinner pulled out that 187 km/h second serve down set point, and it's a high risk move. He had a lot of confidence on his serve because he didn't lose a serve. Up to that point, of course, he lost it first game in the second set, but at that moment in time, he had not been broken the entire tournament, and he just blasted that second serve saves that point. But Carlos Alcaraz was very close, not only in that first set, but also in the second set up a break, and then that 3-2 game and the 3-all game. He played well, but he also made some errors that are uncharacteristic. For example, the backhand volley. We don't really see Carlitos missing backhand volleys like that. And if he looks back at this match, I feel like rather that second set, mid of the second set, was where he could have done things a little bit better. There's not much you can do when Yannick Sinner blasts the second serve that fast on set points, but midsection of that second set, I felt like he could have gotten this match into a third set, and then you never know what can happen, especially with all that pressure. But one thing about Carlos that worries me a little bit, and the reason why I put Carlitos right on top here, is that he's on his way to Davis Cup, and he hurt himself in this match at 4-all in the first set, and then took an injury timeout of 5-4. Now, I didn't see any problems with his movement after the injury, and he confirmed this in the post-match interview that he didn't lose because he was injured, and he said that he was on his way to the Davis Cup right after losing that final. So the concern that I have is the amount of tennis that Carlitos plays. Hope you can hear me, helicopters. Um, he plays a lot. Now, maybe he's one of these guys that needs matches. I certainly know that Rafa needed a ton of matches to be at his absolute best at Roland Garros. He needed to perform a clay court rampage every year and play Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, Rome, and then Roland Garros. And back in the day, it was Hamburg instead of Madrid. So Nadal needed this, and I felt like when he didn't get this or he didn't perform well in these tournaments prior to Roland Garros, I was a little bit worried for him. So maybe Carlitos is the same and he needs matches, but I am a little bit worried that he plays too much. And then once Davis Cup is over, I think he has a few weeks off and then has some exhibitions lined up in Miami. So I feel that Sinner did a smart thing for pulling out of the Davis Cup, but he also won a couple of Davis Cup titles. Carlitos has not. And last year I was so pumped when Carlitos played with Rafa. Rafa's final match on tour. And not only that, but also in the Olympics, he played doubles with Rafa. And I was hoping that they were going to get maybe a medal at the Olympics and that they were going to maybe win Davis Cup. And I know Carlos tried so hard at Davis Cup with Rafa, but shout out to Wesley Kohlhoff, who's now retired, who played one of the best doubles matches that I've ever seen. That was incredible. And Rafa and Carlitos went out. So maybe if Carlitos gets the Davis Cup, which I know it's going to be tough for Spain because, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I don't think Davidovich Fokina is playing. So it's going to be tough to win. But if he gets the title, which is something that he wants very badly, he should skip Davis Cup like Sinner is doing. And they have kind of ruined Davis Cup anyway. It's not the same, doesn't feel the same. I'm certainly pumped. I'm going to watch. I'll probably report on it, not on a daily basis like the ATP Finals, but I'm probably going to do a Monday morning rant on it. Let's see. But yes, the only concern for Carlitos is that he plays so much because we want to continue to see these two guys battle it out and continue to see them get better and play in these amazing finals because there's something special when they play each other. Like I said in the beginning, you feel the nerves, you feel the tension, and it's just super exciting. And I don't feel the same thing when one of them is playing somebody else or if there's a final between two other guys. I only feel this when these two guys play each other. It's the best that tennis has to give, and it's fantastic. So hopefully Carlos will be smart about his scheduling. Let's see. So let me take a look at the chat and see what's going on. Greetings from NC. That's North Carolina. Greetings. Okay. Hello, Mr. Nicola. I hope you are doing well. I'm pleased you deserve all the bragging rights. Way before indoor season, you predicted an indoor sweep for Sinner, and people laughed, but you were 100%. Okay, this is actually going to lead into the second thing that's on the board. And let me take out my Babolat Pure Drive Plus 2015 version. By the way, this is the tour model. They don't make this one anymore. It's a little bit heavier, but this thing feels so good. It's a little bit loose, but great racket. Anyway, it says here predictions, and you guys can imagine what's been happening. So I'm getting these like emails and DMs with people offering me money on a monthly basis to provide picks for them for tennis. And I never bet in my life on a tennis match, and I never will. Look, of course, you guys do whatever you want with my predictions. It's not up to me, but I am against betting for personal reasons. I would never do it, and I will never receive money from someone and provide picks. That takes the fun out of it for me, and I'm not a big fan of sports betting in general. But to each his own. If that's something that a lot of you guys are into, that's cool. And there's been a lot of messages, that people have used my picks and they've won money and all that. Congratulations. But again, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to involve money in this because that's going to ruin the fun. The reason why I make predictions is because it creates excitement. And some people, get irked if their player is not picked, understandably so. But I think it's fun. And I love, filling out the draw prior to the Grand Slam starting. And that certainly is very unpredictable. It's impossible to get it right because so many things can go wrong. But obviously, when it's one single match, 50-50 chance, I guess. But I want to tell you that when it comes to predicting tennis matches, it is a skill. And it is something that's very important for a coach or for someone that's very knowledgeable about the game of tennis. And people that have spent a lifetime in the game of tennis and that have a wide knowledge about the game of tennis have an intuition based on many, many factors. And this intuition guides them into predicting what will happen in a specific match. And I do think that this is an important skill that coaches must possess. And I want to tell you a quick story about one of my biggest influences in coaching, which is Nikki Pilic, who recently died. And I made a tribute to him. Novak Djokovic did the tournament in Athens, got very emotional because they did a tribute to Nikki Pilic, I think after his first round win. But Nikki was an absolute genius, a phenomenal player himself, but a genius coach. And he often called himself Vještica, which means witch in Croatian. And he called himself Vještica because he had this scary skill that he knew what was going to happen. He could predict things with incredible accuracy. And of course, Pilic was the Davis Cup captain for Germany. He won 3 titles with Germany. He was the Davis Cup captain with Croatia, won a title with them. And then he was a co-captain with Serbia in 2010. And they won the title. And prior to that Davis Cup final between Serbia and France, a journalist asked Nikki who he thought would win. And Nikki said, Troitsky will beat Lodra in the final. And the interviewer was stunned because both of these guys were not in the lineup for singles. If I remember correctly, it was Monfils and Simone, and it was Djokovic and Tipsarevic. And he asked, why do you pick these guys? They're not even scheduled to play singles. And Nikki said, it's my intuition that these guys will play the deciding match at 2-all, and Troitsky will win the deciding match. And guess what ended up happening? They didn't change the lineups. On the first day, Monfils and Simone did play. Djokovic and Tipsarevic did play. But the deciding match was Troitsky beating Lodra 2-2 and 3. So is this complete luck from Nikki and just a lucky guess? No. Whatever Nikki saw that week led him to make this prediction. And what I've seen with some other coaches that I was inspired by is observing the player and taking this information and using it to predict how this player will play. And when you spend a lot of time with the player, you get to know him really well, and you know how they perform based on their moods and so on. So when I'm predicting these matches, I'm not trying to compare my skills to Nikki Pilic. By no means am I doing that, but I try to take as much information as I possibly can. Of course, I have my limitations because I'm doing this from far away. I'm not close enough to these players to know, how they're feeling when they wake up in the morning. Their teams probably, not probably, they have a good idea on how the player is going to perform. And of course, sometimes you don't know how a player is going to perform. Maybe they wake up in a bad mood and then they play their best tennis. Who knows? Tennis can be really complicated like that. But I do think it is a skill in coaching to be able to predict what's going to happen in a match. So I started doing this, I think in 2023. Yeah, I started doing it 2023, but then 2024 I started, predicting matches. And when it comes to like filling out the draw, like I said, that's nearly impossible to do. You can't get it right. It's just an impossibility. But when it comes to these big matches, I got some wrong. For example, I messed up Sinner versus Alcaraz in Rome this year. I thought that Sinner was going to win. And I thought that Djokovic was going to beat Sinner in Shanghai in 2024. But the one pick that I'm proud of, and I can't believe that it turned out to be correct, is Djokovic beating Alcaraz at the 24 Olympics. And I'll never forget this because I picked Alcaraz to beat Djokovic in the Wimbledon final. But then I was in Croatia at the time, and I was reading a Croatian online magazine or something, and I saw Djokovic running on the road in Dubrovnik, and somebody had photographed him, and he was on vacation but training like an absolute maniac. And I thought, this guy is absolutely insane. And it led me to make this call. I thought that Djokovic wanted this so badly. And the knee that he had been operated on prior to Wimbledon was probably feeling a little bit better. And he ended up taking this match. And I predicted that he would. And you wouldn't believe the comments that I was getting after I said that Djokovic was going to win. A lot of clown emojis and so on. But that pick was insane. And I made some good ones since this year between Sinner and Alcaraz. I got all of them right. Yeah, except the Rome one. And yeah, so it's something that I'm going to continue to do, but don't depend on it, okay? Because I don't know if I'm going to continue with this streak. Let's see. I'm certainly going to try. But again, these are not like blind picks. I don't flip a coin. I really try to take as much information that I can about a player and make a decision on how they're going to perform from far away, which is not accurate. It would be, of course, accurate if you had more information, if you were with the player all day. Even then, it's not 100% accurate because you never know with a player. Like I said, they could wake up in their worst mood ever and play horrible in the warm up and everything's going the wrong way. And then they play their best tennis ever in the match. So tennis can be super mysterious that way. But, you know, for example, prior to my US Open pick where I picked Alcaraz to win, I was really tracking the Sinner serve, and I was very worried about his serve in Cincinnati, and that led me to do a lot of analysis on his serve. And I made the call that he was going to have serve problems in the final, and that ultimately had cost him the match. Now, a lot of people are saying that Sinner had serve problems yesterday, but he still won. I think there's a huge difference, though, because yes, he had a low first serve percentage, 55%, if I remember correctly. But he was incredibly clutch, and he delivered great serves when he needed them the most. And, you know, other than that first game in the second set where he dropped serve, the serve basically won him that match, saving that set point with that monster second serve. And then, you know, the tiebreak upset point, he served a bomb out wide that Alcaraz couldn't return. So even though the serve was not on point yesterday, I still think that the serve was clutch. So very different from the US Open final where the serve was not clutch at all. He didn't have any trust in it. He did lose rhythm on his serve mid second set, so there's still a room for improvement on the center serve. And some people have asked, well, why did he serve so well and then he served so poorly against Alcaraz? Well, it's hard to say, but it could be several things. Maybe a little bit of nerves, you know, being in a final and all that pressure, and also Alcaraz being the greatest returner on the ATP Tour behind Sinner. It put so much pressure on you. Maybe that's why his serve was a little bit off. So I do think that Sinner will continue to work on a serve and it's going to continue to get better. And when it does, it's going to be an even bigger nightmare for the opponents. Okay, we got 142 people in here. Let's me read through chat a little bit. Got the same haircut last week. Are you talking about my haircut? I got the haircut before the final. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, the haircut a little bit shorter than normal, but I like having short hair. Long hair is a nightmare for me. Oh, this is a good one. I'll see your video tomorrow. What do you think about Sinner and Alcaraz's relationship? I hear a few former players saying that it's a bit too friendly. Oh, I don't think it's too friendly at all. I think it's fantastic the way these two guys get along. It's a beautiful example for everyone else how you should behave. These guys don't throw rackets, and they're so fair when they play each other, and they get along great. I don't think they're the closest of friends. I think Sinner is really good friends with Draper and Opelka, I think. I read that today. And I'm not sure who Alcaraz is friends with on tour, but I don't think they're going out together and having dinner necessarily, but they get along well. They have respect for each other, and I think it's nice to see. I don't think it's a problem for either one of them. I think, you know, if there was tension, that certainly would add another layer to the entertainment factor, like Federer and Djokovic. But are we really looking for that type of toxic thing again? I don't. I think this is way better. Rafa was one of the best on clay. One of the best on clay? How dare you? I'm wearing a Rafa shirt underneath. I will show you, but here, look, let's check this out. See this? It's Rafa right here. Rafa. Rafa, not one of the best. I feel insulted. Rafa is the best in the history, and no one will ever win 14 Roland Garros titles. No way. Not even the great Sinner, not even the great Alcaraz. 14 for any tournament. Think about it, like a 250 14 times, or even playing 14 years on tour. But to win a Grand Slam on clay 14 times, insane. Love Carlito's comment during the ceremony that he will be ready next year. Yeah, one thing about Carlos and Sinner also, these guys are incredible and set a great example of how you should construct tennis development. You lose a match and you're positive, and then you try to figure out what you did wrong and then improve upon that. And that's how you develop as a tennis player. Look at what Sinner did. He had a terrible serving performance in the US Open final. Look what he did afterwards. Went on an indoor rampage and was serving exceptionally well. Look what Alcaraz did after losing that tough Wimbledon final. He came back and wins Cincinnati and US Open back to back. So these guys are amazing because they're hard workers and they don't let these losses get to them. They just figure out what they did wrong and they get to work. And of course, their coaching staff is involved in that as well. They do a phenomenal job too. So greetings from Austria at 10:40 p.m. I have to go to bed. Yeah, we're a little bit late today. I was on the court teaching. I was going to start sooner, and we don't have a lot of daylight left, so this is not going to be that long of a live stream. I think it gets dark around 5:40ish, so I got to make sure that I finish this board. Okay, this is good. Who do you think was the third best player at the finals? Not necessarily due to stats. Wow, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one because the obvious answer is FAA. But the way he played against Zverev and the way he played some of those forehands in that last game against Alcaraz where he got broken. He missed 3 forehands in that game with 5-4 in the second. It's rough because FAA had an amazing indoor season. He's finishing the year number 5 in the world. And that's amazing. He's an amazing player, all that. But to be able to challenge the big two, there are some problems in this game that he needs to fix. So, yeah, I would say it's between FAA and Fritz for the third best. I think Fritz has gotten a lot better, and he had a great chance of beating Alcaraz in the round robin match. So I would say it's between those two guys. But again, both of them, both Sinner and Alcaraz, below 100%, and both of them being at the top of their level, they still lose, and that's a huge problem. So, all right, let's get to the next thing on the board, and that is December matches, guys. December matches. A lot of you guys think the season's over, but it's not over yet because we have Davis Cup, okay? Everybody should get psyched for Davis Cup because Carlitos is playing. But on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel, we're going to feature some great matches. We're going to have a rematch of Shamir versus Bremen. Are you guys excited for that? The last time they played, it was a 3-hour battle in the Florida heat. We're going to have the third final and deciding match between Emma and Andre, the real battle of the sexes. Are you guys excited for that one? That's coming up very soon. We haven't played any of these matches yet, so I hope we get these together. It's not so easy. And then we're going to have a matchup titled Third Time's a Charm featuring myself and Andre. I lost to Andre 2 times in a row. And the second time, I was pretty close to dialing 911 and going to the hospital. And things have not been going too well with me with my tennis past that match, because some of you guys might know that I'm an avid paddleboarder, and I do it on a daily basis if I can, if the ocean conditions are calm. But I try to go out there as much as I can. And this summer, I blew out my back on the paddleboard. And how do you do something like that? Well, you have to be as clumsy as I am. And I fall off the paddleboard a lot. And I climbed back on, and I'd fallen off where it was a little bit shallow, and I hit the ground hard with landing on my heels a little bit, and I felt something in my back. The next day I came back and I was pumping up my paddleboard. I have inflatable paddle boards, and my back completely locked up on me. I had these spasms, and for about 2 months I couldn't really move that well. The spasms did go away, but I had back pain for 2 months and I couldn't play. And there's a lesson with Shamir where we work on passing shots, where you can see me like reaching into the basket. I can barely move, and I'm kind of like leaning over and trying to grab ball. So the good thing is, though, that I took 2 months off and I didn't play at all. And now my back is feeling better. I'm back to paddleboarding as well, and I'm trying to get back in shape. And I've been training, hitting the ball machine a lot. I played a couple of sets that were atrocious. I wouldn't say that. They weren't really that bad, but it was just out of shape. But now I'm already getting a little bit better shape, so it should be a little bit better. So I think third time's a charm is a funny title, because my chances are going to be even lower now, even though it's not so hot here in Florida now. The temperature is quite nice, but it's going to be tough against Andre. So that match is planned, and I'm also going to try to feature some other matches. Excuse the noise. I don't know what that is. It's a little bit late for this type of activities. Yeah, I'm going to try to feature some other matches as well. So December is going to be match month on Intuitive Tennis, and hopefully they're going to be entertaining. Let's see. All right, next thing on the board, and I do want to talk about this, and maybe you guys can help me out. Billie Jean King Cup, guys. Billie Jean King Cup. Write in the chat how this works, because I can't figure it out. I'm watching matches on clay. I don't know where they're being held. This is the most confusing tournament ever. Are these the finals? They can't possibly be. Please write in the chat what's going on with the Billie Jean King Cup. I saw Iga played. They play against Thailand. I don't know what's going on. And I need some clarifications on the Billie Jean King Cup. I understand Davis Cup now, even though that's tough to follow as well. But I know that we're going to have Davis Cup next week, and we're going to have a Davis Cup champion, okay? But Billie Jean King Cup, I don't know what's going on. And maybe you guys know what's going on with the Billie Jean King Cup. I know they had some matches even between the US Open and the WTA Finals. There was Billie Jean King Cup matches. So that tournament right there is the most confusing tournament ever. I don't know what's going on. I'm not watching Billie Jean. Why not? It's exciting. See, for me, the season never ends, because even after all this is over, I'm still going to find some matches to watch. There are still challengers being played after Davis Cup. So for me, tennis never stops. It's fun to watch tennis matches, but I understand it's nice to get a little bit of a break too, and I get pumped up for the Australian Open. No Topo Chico today. Of course I have Topo Chico. Look, yes, of course. Let's see here. Yevon, what's up, my friend? Yevon, do you want to play a match again on my channel? For you guys that don't know Yevon, he played against Emma in the brutal heat. Emma was on absolute fire that day. He's got a humongous serve. Maybe Yevon and I can play a match and we'll feature it on the channel. All right, he says always. Okay, that's going to be one match that we can feature. Maybe after my third time. Wait, how is it going to go? Third time's a charm or whatever? Okay, against Andre. We'll have it after that. I'm always excited to watch your videos. So articulate and almost meditative to listen to. Thank you so much. I appreciate the comment. Okay, here's a good question. Did having 3 months off help Sinner just rest? How does Carlos adjust his game? Okay, that's a tough one. I don't know. It's so hard to say because if you think about it, he did lose Rome and he lost Roland Garros. So did it help him? No, I wouldn't say it helped him because Carlos had a big advantage going on a clay court rampage, right? You know, winning everything except Barcelona, and I don't think he played Madrid. So there was an advantage for Carlos. He got into a groove in Monte Carlo, and that's where the new Alcaraz was born. He's a completely different player now. So I think it was an advantage for Carlos, to be honest with you, and that's a reason why he's ranked number one. You know, because if Sinner would have played the clay season from Monte Carlo on, maybe it would have been different. I don't know. It's hard to speculate. And the other part of that question was, what can he do? How does Carlitos adjust his game? Listen, it's a couple of shots here and there. Carlitos is the most complete player on the ATP Tour, the most versatile player. He has all the shots in the book. In that second set, he just needs to improve his focus the next time he's in that situation and clean up his backhand volleys, but he's got a phenomenal backhand volley. So it's just a matter of not letting something like that happen again, where he had a window in this match and he let it slip. That's what he needs to adjust. Just fix the things that he didn't do well in this match. But as far as his game, he's playing phenomenally well. He's serving really well, returning well. He's proven now that he can play an ultra aggressive play style and play serve plus one. Look to be ultra aggressive with his forehand right after the serve. So he's got it all. He just needs to maintain and stay injury free. You can't really say that he needs to add more variety to his game. Like, there's not much more that you can add. And just go with the flow. Look, if he would have lost this match like 2-2 or straight sets, like, then it's a little bit more complicated and it probably involves more analysis and problem solving, like I said. But Carlos after the match said that he did things right. He had the right strategy, and it was just a few points here and there. So he did things correctly in that match, and he just needs to keep going. That's pretty much it. Okay, guys, now we're on to the next topic on the board, and that's Intuitive Tennis Premium. So if you remember at Intuitive Tennis Premium, which is my membership site, you're going to get a lot of benefits. And there are collections of videos in there that I could sell on their own as a course and charge $100 for each one, but I put them on my premium site, and what I'm charging per month is so unbelievably low. It's $14.99 a month. I should have raised the price, but I refused to. So since I started this in 2022, it's been $14.99 a month. And you get so many benefits with that, because if you want to work with me privately, either by a video analysis or on the court, you get huge discounts. I'm talking huge discounts, like half off of my video analysis. And you even get half off on my fundamental courses, like the intuitive serve, intuitive forehand, intuitive tennis footwork, and so on. So it's a great service. And I sometimes think that it's so cheap that people think it's not a good value because it's so cheap. Maybe if I charge $100 a month for it, then people would think, you know, it's a much better value. But it is, relatively speaking, of course, not that high of a price. And there is a tremendous amount of benefits included in the membership, more personal access to me, and one goal in mind, which is, improving your tennis game and bringing you tennis entertainment. So if you want to become a member at Intuitive Tennis Premium, click the link in the description and sign up. All right, let's look through the chat one more time, and then we have one more thing on the board down here, which is a really interesting topic, okay? Do you think it was the right tactic for Alcaraz to rush the net? His volleys were not as great as usual because he didn't choose the right approach, or quality of Sinner's passing shots. So, you know what it is with Sinner? It's very dangerous to come to the net against him because he's the best passer on tour, and he also does that shoelace ripper. And this ball has a tremendous amount of RPM, but he's really good at hitting it low. Now, of course, when you come to the net against Alcaraz, it's very similar. So you better come to the net off a very good ball. So I think it's dangerous. Did Carlos do that? Was he, coming in off the wrong shots? Like, for example, Ben Shelton did that. He was coming in against Sinner on shots that he shouldn't have. No doubt about it. I don't think Carlos was necessarily doing that. He just, like I said before, he just missed some volleys that he normally shouldn't miss. And I think Carlos is a great tactician. He decided in that second set. Now, some people said this was because of injury. I disagree. I didn't see, problems with his movement after he got the injury timeout because he was 1 point away from winning that first set. And he was running all over the place and playing normal Alcaraz tennis. So he decided after losing that second set to come out blasting in that. After losing the first set to come out blasting in the second set. And I think it's a great tactic because Carlos Alcaraz is a great tactician, and this worked, whatever he was doing, because it put Sinner immediately under a tremendous amount of pressure because Alcaraz hit that backhand very deep. It was love 15 on the Sinner serve, first game of the second set. And then, of course, Sinner delivered a couple of double faults, but Alcaraz played well, went up 3-1, and everything was in his hands to win this second set. He just had a very short, lack of focus, let's say, in those games where he made some uncharacteristic mistakes. He lost the serve. And then that second set got very tight at the end. So, again, he didn't do that much wrong in this match, like he said in the post-match interview. And you got to trust Carlitos when it comes to tactics. He knows what he's doing out there. If he thinks that all of a sudden turning on the heat in the following set is the right thing, it's probably the right thing. We got to learn from Carlos and not maybe criticize him so much. All right, let's see what's going on over here, guys. Oh my God, yes. Yannick's lobs were on point. Gave Carlos something to think about. Those lobs were unbelievable. And I want to tell you a quick story, something that I actually wanted to talk about in my video yesterday, but it would have been too convoluted and too long, so I decided to cut that part. But remember in the tiebreak at 1-1, first set, Sinner ran down a drop shot, and Carlos guessed wrong. He went on the deuce court. And Sinner had the entire court open, and all he had to do is just shovel the ball cross court into the F court, and he would have won the point and would have gotten the mini break. But Sinner on that particular point was trying to be cute. My college coach, Mel Purcell, would always say, don't try to be cute. If you can hit the ball normally, don't try to make the spectacle out of it. And Sinner tried to do like a counter drop shot, angled cross court very close to the net, completely unnecessary in that scenario. And then he actually got the mini break, was a 4-2 serving, and he's in control of the point, can blast the forehand, but he decides to do kind of an inside-out forehand drop shot that sails wide. And at this time in the match, I thought Sinner's feel is still not where it should be. He's gotten a lot better with his touch game, but still nowhere near Alcaraz. But then what Sinner did was unreal. He hit that full sprint, one-handed backhand lob off an Alcaraz half volley dropper and got the point. And then, of course, up 5-4 in the tiebreak serving, hits that buttery soft forehand topspin lob and gets himself two set points. So Those lobs were incredibly crucial, and it shows you that hitting the ball soft in the game of tennis is just as important as hitting the ball hard. And I'm sure you guys seen on Instagram or on YouTube Shorts those drills that Sinner is doing where the coach is standing in front of him and Sinner is on one leg hitting the ball very soft and the coach is catching the ball. And Sinner is doing a lot of these exercises where he's hitting the ball very soft. So, like I said, the touch game, the feel game, it's a very important component of tennis. Of course, this is not what tennis consists of. When you look at the whole match, these are not shots that you're going to be utilizing that much. These are specialty shots. But I always say, whatever shot that doesn't show up a lot in a match, let's say, for example, a backhand overhead or, let's say a forehand squash shot or any of these shots that you might not be practicing, what if you have to come up with one of these shots when you're saving set point in a tiebreak at 6-5? Let's say you never practice counter drop shots or running down drop shots, and now you have to do it to stay in a set and save a set point. Well, that's where all that practice is going to pay off for that moment in the match where you have to come up with the goods. And it's beautiful to see that all this work that he's been doing with his field game has paid off for Sinner in a big way. Okay, guys, let's cover the last thing on the board, which is finding a new racket. Can you guys believe I'm saying this? Look, finding a new racket. This is absolutely insane that I'm even saying that. Finding a new racket at the end of 2025. Are you kidding me, Nick? It's ridiculous. I started a series in 2024 in the summer titled Finding a New Racket. It's a whole saga. I'm not going to go through the story again. And here we are a year and a half later, and I'm still talking about finding a new racket because I've been playing with the Babolat Pure Drive Plus, and I don't know what I'm going to choose. Like I said, I've had two months off of tennis with my back problem, and I don't know whether I should play with the 98, the regular Pure Drive, or the Pure Drive Plus. I'm still undecided. I'm going to start playing a little bit more and play more matches, and I need to have a racket that I play with and stop this nonsense of switching rackets. This was surely a great video series, and I know that a lot of you guys got value from it and actually bought rackets. And this was not of any benefit to me because I wasn't affiliated with any of the brands. I didn't have any affiliate codes on the rackets other than a Diadem, but that was for a separate video, not part of the finding a new tennis racket series. But when it came to that series, I didn't make a single dime off anything that was purchased. And I know that a lot of you guys bought rackets based on my recommendation. So in that sense, I think the series was valuable. But this series, finding a new racket, was the worst thing that I've ever done for my tennis game. It destroyed my arm earlier this year, and it ruined my game to a point where I couldn't play the same level that I had in 2024, which some people said it's father time, but father time can't kick your butt that quick, can it? Like in a couple of months, all of a sudden your level drops. I think, testing all these rackets and losing my preferences basically, not knowing what I like, being completely confused and constantly thinking about rackets in my head, ruined my game earlier this year. And, maybe this 2-month break helped me in a way where now I can go in and finally pick one of these two rackets and be done with the finding a new tennis racket series that actually ended, earlier this year. But full disclaimer, I still don't know what racket I'm playing with, and I do plan to continue to play tennis and feature some matches of myself on the channel. So this year in December, I will decide on which racket I'm playing with, and so look out for a video coming to the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. So the board is done. I'm gonna go through the chat a little bit more, and we have, what is it, 5:16? We'll do a little bit more, but it's gonna get dark soon. I don't have my lighting set up here, so we'll just call it a day, guys. We'll make it a little bit shorter. Q&A 46 minutes ago. We'll do an hour and then we'll call it a day. Let me read through some of these questions, okay? Okay, Nick, what do you make of Sinner's serve? The whole point was to improve it to match up better against Carlos, but once again in this match he landed only 55% of his first serves. So the problem with Sinner's serve wasn't only Carlos, because if you remember the Cincinnati tournament, he struggled against some of the other guys, and at the U.S. Open, he lost a set to Shapovalov, he lost a set to FAA, not serving that great. So it's not just Carlos, okay? I mean, these guys are good. It's true that Sinner doesn't have to play 100% to beat these guys, but still, he needs to play. These guys are good. So it's not just for Carlos to serve. But yes, in order to beat Carlos, the serve has to be clicking. But I think the big thing for Sinner, and the reason why he was able to save that points, was the confidence on his serve. And you only get confidence by serving well. And he has been serving exceptionally well in this indoor season. So, like I said before, the serve, even though it was only at 55% in this match, helped him to win this match. If he wasn't for that confidence that he built up, maybe he would have missed that second serve on set point, down 5-6, and first set would have gone to Carlitos. Maybe if he didn't have this confidence, he's up 6-4, maybe he doesn't make that first serve bomb. So even though the percentage was not high, he was still clutch. He was clutch. And the reason why he was clutch, because he's got a lot of confidence in his serve. Way different from the confidence that he had Cincinnati US Open. Don't you think Yannick would need a specific super coach for the net game? Someone like Edberg, it would bring him a really valuable upgrade for his game. I think Sinner's volleys have gotten so much better. His touch has improved. And I recently had some really good footage of the center volleys, and they've gotten so much better. The technique is clean. Now, when it comes to, volleying, it's not all about technique. It's how you come in, when you come in. It's a little bit more complex than that. And look, I don't think he necessarily needs to come in more than he's doing right now, because when you have these weapons from the back of the court, when you serve big and you get a ball in the half court, what's going to happen when Sinner gets a ball in the half court? Think about it. How many times will he lose the point when that's the case? It's a very small percentage, like close to zero. So, yes, I think the volleys are important, but not as important as people make it out to be. So, in a way, if he added someone like that, maybe he would come in too much and expose himself against someone like Carlos. Like I said, it's not good when you're coming in at the wrong time. I think the way he's coming in right now is perfect. So no need for a super coach. He's got a great team, and it's obviously working. I mean, he's on fire right now, and same for Carlos. No need to make any changes. Don't try to fix something that's not broken. It makes no sense to make any changes. This is related. Zverev thoughts on lack of mental strength. Staring at coaching team after every shot. Yeah, that match from Zverev against FAA. And I talked about this in my video. You can watch my video back. This was by far the worst match of the ATP Finals. And FAA, if he played well, he could have won that second set very easily, but he didn't, because both players were tight. And yes, there were high stakes in this match. And FAA was the more clutch player. But Zverev's body language in this match and his behavior, poor. That game at 4-all in the first set, if I remember correctly, where it was down low 40, 3 break points, he was able to eventually save 3 of them. And then on the next point, he missed that volley that was like a sitter. He stomped into it. And, he lost the serve. His behavior was poor because it was at this time where he started looking at his box and hands up in the air, and this just so negative. And look, if you're going to be negative and let steam off, but then focus on next point and find your best tennis like Djokovic does it, that's one thing. That's fine. But to have negativity linger like that through the entirety of games, and in his case was through the entirety of that 4-all game, and then through the entirety, Simone, don't knock over that bottle, please. And then through the entirety of the first set, the second set, that was, like you say here, it's a very weak performance mentally, and everybody can see it. And you don't have to be an expert in the mental game of tennis to know that when you have a guy like FAA who's on fire, been playing well indoors, won Brussels, made the finals of Paris Masters, you play against a guy like that, and you're so negative. What are your chances are gonna? What are going to be your chances to win? They're not going to be very high. And I don't know why Zverev is doing this, but this whole year, ever since that match at the Australian Open, Zverev has been negative. He's been saying some weird stuff in the press, and he's been self-deprecating, which is weird to me. I don't know why you would be self-deprecating as a top player. It's okay if you're retired and you get a little bit out of shape and you say that you can't play tennis anymore, even though it's ridiculous. But that to me is like a charming thing, and a lot of former pros will talk like that. No problem with that. But I don't recall Djokovic or Nadal or Federer be self-deprecating and saying very negative things about themselves. When in regards to their tennis, of course, it's not a good look. It's not a good sign of his mental state, and he needs to change, or it's going to be a downward trend. I cannot believe that he's still ranked number 3 in the world. And I'm saying this understanding the way the points work on the ATP Tour. He's still got the Australian Open final, and even though it's one of his worst seasons, still a very good season. He's an incredible player. No arguments there. Finishing the year number 3 in the world. It's amazing. But if, let's say, he loses early in the Australian Open, which could happen, he lost very early in Grand Slams after the Australian Open. So if he does that and continues to play like this up and down, he's not going to be the same top 5 guy anymore. It's going to be a downward trend. So he needs to make drastic changes. There was some signs of improvement early in the indoor season in Vienna, and he played well in Paris, especially against Medvedev. But then, he got hurt, and he did play well against Shelton. And then that performance against FAA to make it to the semifinals, which would have been great for him. That would have been a confidence boost. He would have defended his points from last year. Yeah, it was a setback, another setback for Zverev. So we'll have to see how he does in 26. Um, can FAA break into the big two? He can't. No, he can't. Think about it. To break into the top 2, you have to play well the whole year. You have to play well on the slower surfaces and the fast ones. And FAA has done well in Madrid, but I remember some of the matches against Alcaraz on clay, for example, the Olympics match where he got 2 games and did make the semifinals there. So FAA is a great clay court player, but you said, can he break into the top 2? He lost 1-1 to Alcaraz at the Olympics on clay. No, he would need to get a lot better. He would need to improve his backhand. I think the backhand, I was tracking the speed of the backhand and forehand during this tournament, and his backhand speed in close to every match that he played, or in every match that he played, was slower than the opponent. So his backhand is softer. So that's a little bit of a hole right there. And he's got an incredible serve, one of the best serves on tour, and he's got an incredible forehand. But the forehand, at certain times, can get a little bit tight, and he starts sailing it a little bit. He did that, against Zverev in the second set, and he did it against Carlos down 5-4 in a second. He missed 3 forehands when he got broken at 5-4 in that game. And it cost him. So, no, I don't think it's possible to break into the top 2 for FAA. But again, there's no disrespect. These 2 guys at top are just at another level, and you have to have everything and then some to break in there and ruin that party. Think of it this way, like how good Nadal and Federer were in the mid 2000s. and what it took for Djokovic to break into that and ruin that party. Like the amount of like willpower that you need to possess to be able to go in there and say, you know what, these guys are great, they're goats, but I'm better. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna win more than them. It's incredible, and I don't see that from anyone on tour right now that has the capability that Djokovic had to go in there and break up that party between Sinner and Alcaraz. Not right now. Not even the youngsters. Tien, Fils, Fonseca, Menchik. Nope, I don't see it. And I don't see it for a while, especially not in 2026. But you never know. We have to watch. We have to watch and see what happens. Can your cat hit this bottle with a beautiful backhand? Okay, guys, I think it's time to go. It's getting dark here anyway. It gets dark. It's gonna get dark in like 10 minutes here. It's like last light is 5:45. Now it's 5:30, and we're almost at an hour. Let me do one more question here, and then we're gonna call it. We'll do more live streams. Maybe we'll do one at the end of the year, like a wrap up of 2025. How about that? We'll do one of those after all the matches have been played on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. Um, we'll do one more live stream this year, and then we'll get pumped up for Australia early next year. We'll cover it. We'll stay on top. We'll keep practicing. We'll keep playing. We'll keep learning about this beautiful game. And guys, I don't ask for this usually, but if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to Intuitive Tennis. A lot of you guys watch and don't subscribe. So hit that subscribe button, hit like on this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.